time for the final word in sports all across the state. You're listening to Sports Talk with your hosts, Bill Kornbluth, Will Pelagic, and the Professor Tom Hayes. You've been waiting all day, so join the show now by calling 800-956-7266.
I think we're fortunate he missed a few, and our main attention was on DeVoe and Reed. So it left sometimes other people open, and they're right at the top of the scouting report. You go DeVoe, Reed, and then make sure you know where those guys are.
Oh, I think you got to give them some credit. Absolutely, he needed to make more plays off the bounce. Like if they're guarding you that hard, you don't just keep backing up and shoot quicker.
I told Frank after the game, he's got my number. This is back-to-back slap-arounds. So obviously he's got some things figured out about what we do and how to stop us.
I'm looking around, what's cut? It was his birthday too. And I turn around, he's sitting on the baseline. He's got his head inside a trash can, puking his brains out. He puked for over an hour. I finally went over. I said, never in my life have I seen somebody puke for an hour straight. It's crazy. He got up and finished the last 20 minutes of practice. And I was like, wow, that's pretty good.
Oh, good evening and welcome into Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, here on a Monday night after another wild and woolly sports weekend in the state of South Carolina. Welcome in. You're tuning over to us from elsewhere. We welcome you home to where you need to be here on Sports Talk. Phil Kornbluth, Will Pelagic, and the Professor Tom Hayes. We'll open up the phone line. What you have to say, 800-956-7266. Mr. Pelagic, you were a busy man over the weekend. You pulled the heavy duty of USC basketball Saturday, Clemson basketball Sunday, a little Gamecock baseball as well. And I Saturday
veered in toward Kingsmore Stadium at the end of the basketball as well, just to say I did all four.
Yeah. So you saw some incredible basketball. I tuned in to the South Carolina score when it was 41-16, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And then I left it for a while because I was busy doing what I was put on this earth to do.
Yeah,
which is play golf. That is what I was put on this earth to do. I fully believe that based on my skill set. And then when I tuned it back in, it was an 8-point game, and I'm like, what in the world is going on here? So what in the world went on?
Well, you knew Auburn was going to make a run.
Yeah.
And I think you can maybe even attribute a little bit of that to the Tiger players playing a little bit more inspired after the loss of Anthony McLemore, which I hope you haven't seen the replay. Don't watch the replay if you haven't seen the replay.
I don't like to look at train wrecks.
I've seen Joe Theismann, so I've seen
it. It was about as bad as that. So that was not fun.
Was that down in front of y'all or the other side?
It was right in front of us. And I heard the scream, and I looked at it, and I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Well, I was at the Pro-Am game when the South Carolina State player got hurt going. His leg folded up like a tent, and I saw that live.
And I mean, a lot of it also came down to the fact that Auburn was making more shots that they didn't take in the first half, and they got some looks that they missed, and South Carolina had some unfortunate defensive breakdowns. But I think one thing that you have to attribute the play this weekend to is the fact that whatever you did on Friday with Sindarius Thornwell and PJ Dozier in practice, bottle it up and try and carry it through the rest of the year. And Frank Martin talked about it Saturday. He talked about it today, is that those guys brought a level of inspiration and a level of accountability that this team has not seen through any point of this season. And it was a different team that we saw on Saturday.
Congratulations to them. That's a big win. It shows a little bit of life. Now they get a Georgia team on Wednesday that's been really struggling up and down. That could get them another win at home and give them some confidence heading down the stretch, headed towards the SEC tournament.
Well, the key point that I saw was the fact that if this had been a regular year without a Final Four, you wouldn't have had 15,000 people in that house Saturday. Apparently, that largesse from what happened last year and the fact that they have not given up on this team, because this team, ever since they've walked into that arena with a big crowd, they've choked. Let's face it, they've done that. But this team somehow hung on, and it really shows, again, if they play scrappy defense, they shot, I think, final was 43%. Anything above 43 and above, has been a good record for Frank Martin in his tenure here at South Carolina.
Yeah, they were taking some bad shots there near the end, but I think they had done their work early, which I think was very encouraging. They had to play a little bit again without Chris Silva. He only lasted 28 minutes because of foul trouble, and you know, you heard him talk about Jason Cudd in the beginning. You know, this is a guy. I'm not saying he's doing anything land shattering, but he's becoming now a focal part of that team and that rotation. He was first guy off the bench. Yeah. And I think that, you know, Frank Martin loves these project big guys because he believes that their potential and their ceiling is higher than somebody who might be a finished product coming out of school. And again, it speaks back to the development and how, you know, the expectations of fan bases need to be tempered because, and he even talked about how this worked with Andy Kennedy and Ole Miss, is that if you're a school like South Carolina, you can't expect to go to the second weekend of the NCAA tournament every year. You have to build teams, and this part of what this year is. Yes, you have two guys who are one-year transfers who are not going to be a part of that, but they are trying to help lay the foundation for guys who are going to be four-year players like Justin Minaya, like what you could see out of other ancillary parts of that team.
Sure, absolutely. And you give Jason Cudd a lot of credit for getting to the point where a red shirt was taken off the table because that was some of the talk early on for him. Continues to work hard and listen.
And he asked about it. He asked about the red shirt. He wanted it.
You can't coach height. And if you get a big guy and you can develop him, and he's got some skills, now he's got to improve a lot of his overall athleticism, his running and this kind of thing. But Martin's always said he's got good hands. He's got good skills around the basket,
footwork too.
And 7 feet is 7 feet.
Well, some coaches like a project because of maybe ostensibly a lack of athleticism, they haven't developed as many bad habits as the other guys, so they can teach them. They got a good, nice, soft, round mold of clay they can mold into what they want.
You got to be more comfortable inside the body, too, when you're at that height.
Exactly.
All right, in the upstate yesterday, it was the big showdown between Clemson and Duke, and it was really everything that we thought it was going to be. Don't let the final 9-point spread mislead you. This was a tight ball game all the way through and down the stretch. Clemson had its lead. Duke came back and did its thing, and Grayson Allen was great in the first half, not offensively, not so great in the second half. Wendell Carter, very big for Duke in the final stages.
He was good, and they made some adjustments on Allen. They put David Scara on Grayson Allen, and he only scored 2 points after halftime. So credit the Clemson coaching staff for making that adjustment. But the one thing that really befell Clemson was that they got an absolute zero out of their two biggest scorers on a night when they were without Shelton Mitchell because of concussion protocol. No update on whether or not he'll be able to play Wednesday at Virginia Tech. Yes, Marquise Reed scored 13 points, but it was on 14 shots, and 7 of those came from the free throw line. So both of those guys, Marquise Reed and Gabe DeVoe, limited just 4 field goals. DeVoe missed his first 9. He hit one late that put them in good position, but at the end of the day, when you only get 4 made field goals out of those two guys, it is very, very hard to beat anybody, let alone Duke.
Psychologically, I thought that would have been – I thought they could still pull it out, and if they pull it out with those guys having lackluster games, that would have given them even more confidence going toward postseason.
And I asked Brad Brownell this after the game, and I really disagreed with him because I thought that their struggles – kind of portrayed onto the rest of the team. You saw David Scara taking shots that he had no business taking. You saw Amir Sims taking shots that turned into air balls, and you see Clyde Trapp, dribbling into a double team in the corner. I mean, things like that. When you need ancillary scoring from guys who are not used to providing you those kind of numbers, they whittle under the pressure.
Reed and DeVoe combined 2 for 14 beyond the arc, and these are two guys that have been on fire. USC, Clemson baseball, other baseball around the state. Clemson sweeping William and Mary in 3 close ones. USC takes 2 out of 3 from VMIC. The season did not end on Friday, Gamecock fans, when the Gamecocks got beat by VMI. They still played 2 more games and won them both.
3-1 weekend as well for Coastal, beating 3 high major teams as well.
Yeah, losing today to Indiana.
That's kind of a hard one.
Last game, baseball at the beach. They had a couple of walk-off wins and then lost today, 6-5. Furman opened up with a 3-0 start.
Chad Holbrook's Cougs 3-0 as well.
Yes, we'll talk more about that. Update some rankings for you. Take your phone calls, 800-956-7266. Be right back.
Sports Talk is the sports talk show of Main Street, South Carolina. From the coast to the mountains, we cover it all.
Check it out. It's Sports Talk here on a Monday night from the capital city, 800-956-7066. If you'd like to join in, our email talkback at sportstalksc.com. On Twitter at SportsTalkSC. Coming up, we'll hear from Brad Brunell and Frank Martin. Also, some comments from Mark Kingston, Monty Lee, a couple of other things to talk about. Tonight's great race at Daytona. The ending was fantastic. I know it had a little bit of a yawn factor in it when they got lined up in the long train and kind of followed each other there for a while, but the ending was wild. And think about this, two things. Number one, if you're a longtime race fan, I mean, you just have to smile. You just have to smile. If you only just close your eyes and look at the standings, the post-race standings, and just look at the car numbers to see the 3 and the 43, 1 and 2. I mean, that hasn't happened in a long, long time. That's number one. Very good. Number two, of course, Austin Dillon, who has been on Sports Talk before. Great for him to win the race the way he did. Bubba Wallace finishing second. What a wonderful story he is going to be. Think about this. If he had won and Bubba Watson won in L.A.,
would have been Bubba weekend.
You'd have had two Bubbas winning on the major sports scene. Yeah, think about that. How often does that happen? Probably never.
Monty does still
two Bubbas.
Monty still doesn't want to call him Bubba Wallace, though.
No, he doesn't. He finds that hard to accept.
I understand there are things that are beyond control, especially when you have the big one at Daytona. But I still don't like the manufactured, nature of when they go to a green-white checkered like that. It just to me, I know what they're trying to do, but to me, it seems like a mishit on my part.
I mean, I like it. I prefer that over the yellow flag finish. It used to be a wreck would come out with 2 or 3 laps to go. They would throw the yellow, and that'd be the end of the race because it would take them 3 or 4 laps to clean up the mess, depending on how big the wreck was, and the guy would take the checkered flag at 25 miles an hour. I like the fact that they stop counting the laps and they give you a chance to have a green flag run to the finish.
The only reason I would like it is if it gets rid of the phantom trash that seems to be called in some races, so they can put it under caution.
I wouldn't mind a race back to, like, if you get in the last 5 laps, that kind of thing. I mean, we're basically down to the end, and if you have a caution in the last 5 laps, have like a race back to the start finish line, and then call the race there.
Well, they used to do it that way, and then they started throwing the caution because if my memory's right, I think they were doing it on the side of safety. They didn't want the drivers racing back around, and perhaps, depending on the size of the track, if that's the rule and you're at a half-mile track or 3/4 mile track and you're racing, you could run right back around into the wreck before they could get it cleaned up. So that's why they throw the yellow. Now they give you a chance to reorganize, clean the track, and give you a restart towards the end. And then if you get 1 lap complete and there's a wreck, then that lap is going to end the race. So I like it. I thought it was good. Let's see what happens when they go to Atlanta this weekend, what the attention is. Now, the overnight ratings were not good on Fox, down again, and just continuing a trend in sports television across the board, so it seems. And NASCAR needs good TV ratings. This is the last year of the contract with Monster Energy. They've made no promises past this year, so this is a critical year for NASCAR. The other thing I wanted to mention, this is unbelievable. This is truly unbelievable.
What's up?
The West Virginia-Kansas game.
Oh, yeah.
And the foul shooting differential.
That's nothing new.
I mean, come on, 35-2. How do you shoot only 2 free throws in a major college basketball game, and the other team in a close game where you don't have to foul until towards the end shoots 35 free throws?
You want to see our new favorite person all of time, Ken Pomeroy.
Ken Pom.
He had a very interesting piece on this. Do you know, since the 2004-2005 season, Kansas has attempted 532 more free throws than its opponents in Big 12 contests. That's an average of 5 extra foul shots per game. That is more than double the national average home team disparity.
That's why they call it. That's why they call it Fog Island Fieldhouse. Referees walk into a fog, and they give all the calls to Kansas. Which was why I was glad Bob Huggins, with about 15 seconds to go, I'm going to get thrown out.
But you know,
did he get fined, by the way?
I don't know if he hasn't yet that I've heard, but he did not explode in his post game like I thought he would. I thought he was a volcano just ready to cut loose, but he was very calm. He didn't scream. He didn't yell.
I loved it.
Yeah, I mean, he was totally what I did not expect in that post game.
And not only that, but I mean, those are good referees that are in that game now. John Huggins and Jamie Luckey, those guys they have Final Fours. They've got NCAA championships under their belt. I mean,
not even suggesting anything. Like you said, excellent referees. Not even suggesting anything
nefarious.
Funny here. Yeah. You like big words. I like small words. Simple. I'm a simple man with a simple brain. But 35-2.
One of those.
That just can't. That's almost impossible.
Well, again,
when you're playing, did Kansas press?
No,
they didn't press.
West Virginia does the press.
I know that,
Yeah,
but Kansas didn't press.
No.
Did they play man?
Yeah.
Did they use their arms? Did they reach for the basketball?
Again,
did they try to rebound? Did they do anything that created contact? Did they try to draw a charge?
I went to a school in Big 12 country, so going through this is something that is not. It's something I'm just used to. You just know that you're gonna. I mean, we've talked about playing 5-on-8 at Cameron Indoor Stadium and also at the Dean Dome as well. The same thing is true at Kansas. And, you know, it's not even just those three. I mean, a lot of these other high major teams, you think about Rupp Arena in Lexington, you think about what used to happen in Louisville when they were with Rick Pitino. I mean, the biggest problem in college basketball is that you do not get the most consistent officiating. My dad rails about this all the time. It's just one of the reasons he hates watching college basketball is because the disparity between home calls and road calls are just completely out of whack.
The South Carolina Athletic Hall of Fame today announced its 7 new inductees. So congratulations to all of these folks. The class of 2018 will consist of Ray Allen.
Heard of him.
Hope he can come in. That'd be great. Casey Manning, the judge.
Allen also this weekend finalist for the NBA or for the Professional Basketball Hall of Fame and the Naismith Hall of Fame as well.
He should probably get in.
Probably should.
Who else? Clemson wrestler Sammy Henson, former USC baseball player Drew Meyer, South Carolina State two-sport athlete Sam Goodwin, UCLA basketball star Kenny Washington, who was from Beaufort, won a couple of rings out there, and marathon swimmer Kathleen Wilson from James Island. So congratulations. The event, the induction ceremony, May 14th at the Columbia Metropolitan Convention Center. And sponsorships are available. Tables are available. This is always a huge event, as you well know, and it gets bigger by the year. So if you want to get tickets, get a table or whatever, you need to act as soon as possible because they will fill up and possibly even sell out. Everything begins at 5:30. Not only do you get to see, if you go to it, not only do you get to mingle with the folks who are going into the Hall of Fame, you get to mingle with all the other Hall of Famers who show up that night. It's the one night in South Carolina. You've got all these great former athletes under one roof.
Something that also happened over the weekend in SEC circles, Andy Kennedy announced that he is no longer going to coach at Ole Miss beyond what happened this past weekend. He said he's not going to finish out the season, going back on the word that he made last week.
So he's done?
He's done.
He's done.
You didn't see that?
I didn't see that.
Because the perception around is that his team has quit on him.
Huh.
So he wants them to have another voice so they will play. Because they just hung their heads as soon as Mississippi
Steve Spurrier
State. When Mississippi State made that run on them, that team just quit.
And Frank Martin said some very poignant things about Andy Kennedy during his press conference today, talking about how sad it is that there's a disconnect between him and his team. And somebody put on Twitter, he said, would love to see him on Frank Martin's staff, possibly, if that could happen during the offseason. I don't know if Andy Kennedy is going to want another head job at some point, or if he's going to want to take a.
Are you suggesting he fires somebody?
I'm not saying he fires anybody. I'm just saying that's a guy who's a very, very good part. They have a connection back to Cincinnati.
Absolutely. They're very close. Okay. We'll be right back. 800-956-7266, the number. We are back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, after a busy weekend. 800-956-7266. Any thoughts on Clemson's loss to Duke and how the Tigers are going to recover from a 2-game losing streak moving forward to try and get some momentum back their way heading towards the stretch here and trying to get their head right for the ACC tournament. The new polls out today. Clemson is 15th by the AP, 17th by the coaches. They are split at number 1, Virginia by the AP, Michigan State by the coaches, and the other team is number 2, depending on the poll. Then it's Villanova, Xavier, and Duke, 3 through 5 in both rankings. North Carolina up to number 10 in both. Auburn drops to number 12 by the AP after the loss to South Carolina. Tennessee is 19 in both, and Florida State breaks into the top 25 on the AP side after its win over Clemson. The AP women's poll, USC moves up a spot to number 7. Of course, UConn is number 1. Mississippi State, which clinched the SEC regular season, is number 2. Then it's Baylor, Louisville, Notre Dame, and then Texas, USC, Oregon, Florida State, UCLA.
UConn beat somebody yesterday, 106-45.
It's not even funny anymore. A couple of other quick notes. The Southern Conference Baseball Player of the Week comes from Furman, Jake Crawford. All he did was hit 778 on Friday and Sunday, starting those games, going 7 for 9, 3 RBIs, and a home run.
Slouch.
Presbyterian announced that Joey Ork is the new offensive coordinator, replacing Todd Varn, who departed for Newberry. He has been on the staff for 6 seasons, going into his 7th season there, had been coaching the offensive line. Do you see where Chris Winkie was hired as the running backs coach at Tennessee?
Yes.
He had been an offensive analyst for Alabama. And now he joins Jeremy Pruitt's staff.
What does he know about running backs?
I don't know. I mean, Bobby Bentley's coaching running backs.
Yeah, sure had to hand it off.
Now, where did Robert Gillespie? Where did he go? Did he go to A&M? Where did he go? Did he go back
to Florida? Something.
Former USC assistant coach. I was looking in the story. I didn't see where he took off to, but he is gone to open up that spot.
Right.
And
he hasn't signed anywhere yet, I don't think.
The new baseball polls for the week, I guess the first ones to come out in the regular season. Obviously, Clemson is 25 by both Baseball America and by the D1 baseball poll. Only team in the state to be ranked in the top 25 this week. You had something you wanted to say?
No.
I saw your hand go up like you were asking for permission.
No.
You don't have to ask for permission, just ask for forgiveness. It's kind of how it works around here. All right.
Sorry you thought I was asking for permission.
Clemson, yesterday up at Little John. How was the atmosphere?
It was good.
Rocking?
Lots of Duke fans, though.
Mm-hmm.
I say this publicly. You know, we don't root. I was kind of rooting against Duke yesterday just because I hate. Like, you hate North Carolina with a passion of 1,000 suns. I hate Duke with that same passion.
I've kind of got Duke at the same level. I'm talking about North Carolina basketball. I mean, I
hate
with
Duke,
a passion.
With a passion.
How can you hate Coach K though? I mean, Coach K he's Coach K.
Just can't.
He's got a couple of Z's in his name like you do.
He looks like a llama. Just looks like a llama. I just think he's just
a llama.
He's got good kids. We've got good kids.
I just can't.
When he gets that scowl going, when Clemson was building the lead, and I think there was a call he disagreed with.
Man works.
He had that scowl going.
No one works the rest like Coach K now.
Where the eyebrows kind of come together and the nose gets a little extended.
Like smelling something he doesn't like.
It's bad.
So anyway, it was a disappointing loss and a tough loss for Clemson and Brad Brownell. I am assuming afterward, he's usually a pretty mild-mannered guy. Watching on television and then going back and looking at some of the pictures that Sideline Carolina took,
he was fiery.
He was really animated and fired up yesterday, wasn't he?
He was heated. But afterwards, he had a very measured tone, liked the way his team competed, but ultimately Duke made more plays than Clemson did.
Really competitive basketball game, I thought. Both teams, I thought defensively were very good. Thought thought our guys really competed throughout the game, did a great job rebounding, defending. We just have to play better basketball. We just have too many costly mistakes, whether it's turnovers on inbounds plays or fouling three-point shooters. Obviously, that was a huge play at the end of the game. We've got all the momentum and 10-0 run maybe to tie it at 57, and then you don't make them make a basket. It just changes the whole outlook. Those kinds of plays are the ones that are disappointing. We had a couple offensive rebounds that we just go back up and get blocked instead of playing with poise and bringing it back out. But again, I thought our guys really competed. I thought we guarded, Grayson Allen very well and Gary Trent Jr. really well. But give Duke a lot of credit. Their kids came in here. You could see a good focus in their eyes, and they competed hard, played well, and made a couple more plays down the stretch than we did.
Was Donnell banged up at all, or why he seemed to get off to such a hot start, was playing very inspired basketball, didn't get much playing time after the early going?
No, it's my decision. If you look at the half, Eli got in some foul trouble. Mark was very good. Then you watch the second half, Eli was very good. If you look at the rebounds, Eli more than did his job today. And Mark played well. We played them both for a little while, but I didn't love it. And so I went back to different lineup, going smaller again with either Amir or Scar. But I thought Mark and Elijah both gave us good minutes today.
Brad, was it just not Gabe's night, or were they doing something particular?
Oh, I think you got to give them some credit. Absolutely. I thought they did a good job of guarding them, finding them, making sure, he had tough looks. He needed to do more. He needed to make more bounce. Like, when they're guarding you that hard, you don't just keep backing up and shoot quicker. Like, you've got to make an adjustment to attack some paint occasionally and do a few more things. And, those nights happen. Obviously, he and Marquise did not shoot the ball very well tonight. That's part of it. I'm sure maybe the timing wasn't quite as good in certain things without Shelton because of that, but you got to make adjustments as a very good guard and an older player. You got to make your own adjustments.
How do you think the struggles from Gabe and Marquise affected the shot selection of your other players outside of them?
I don't think it overly affected the shot selection of our other players. I think our guys, we need to continue to develop, David Scara and Clyde Trapp and, Amir. Those guys got to just keep working to get better, become more comfortable, and take big shots and go make plays. I don't think their shot selection, really changed. I think they're going to continue to have more opportunities, and I think you're going to see them play better the last month of the season if teams continue to or make a concerted effort to guard Gabe and Marquise harder. Those guys will have more opportunities.
Yeah, I don't know if you use the Duke game to develop David Scara's offensive ability. I really don't. I mean, and the one criticism of Brownell is the fact that he doesn't really have a good feel for the game at times. Like, I don't know why Mark Donnell only played 13 minutes when he scored 10 points in the opening half. And I also don't know why Scott Spence was in on that defensive selection, the defensive sequence, rather, that ended up with him fouling the three-point shooter.
He had a difficult game with that. He had turnovers trying to inbounds the ball. He's even cited by the announcers. That was a little bit strange as well. Have an email in to us, and you can email us as well here on Sports Talk. Talkback at SportsTalkSC.com. This comes to us from William talking about Brad Brownell. He says, if Brownell is an X's and O's coach, as you guys keep saying, why can't he diagram plays to get the ball in bounds? His teams continue to make stupid, unforced turnovers, bad passes, stupid fouls on three-point shooters. All these are things a good coach would address and correct, but this has gone on his entire coaching time at Clemson. You guys never want to apply a critical eye to Clemson basketball coaches.
I literally just did. I said he doesn't have a feel for the game a lot of times, and the other part of this too is that Shelton Mitchell being out had nothing to do with their inbounds. They had problems like that at Florida State, too.
Yeah, Clemson deserves a better basketball performance. We will not get it with the current coach. Watch and see how the rest of the year falls out. CU will lose by the second round of the ACC tournament, and will make a quick excuse-me type one-game appearance in the NCAA tournament, and you guys will think we Clemson fans should be happy. And we don't think for you. We let you do your own thinking.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, we'll be right back.
I'll address that when we come back.
Now back to Sports Talk, South Carolina's most listened to sports talk show for more than 30 years.
All right, we're back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. There's one game tonight in the ACC as they have off in about 15 minutes. Miami at Notre Dame. So after the weekend, Virginia still safely on top as we hit the last 2 weeks of the season. 4 more games to go. Virginia's 13-1. Duke is 10-4. North Carolina 10-5, Clemson 9-5. So the Tigers play Virginia Tech on Wednesday night up there. Tech, Louisville, NC State all bunched at 8-6. There could still be a lot of maneuvering, but Clemson controls its destiny as far as getting a top 4 seed. All they've got to do is win the rest of their games. Virginia Tech, they play Florida State again. They play Syracuse. They play Georgia Tech.
That double bye would be huge.
Yeah, so they control their own destiny. If they can get that top 4 seed, all they got to do is just win, baby. Just win, baby.
I want to address the last half of that email that the gentleman who you talked about before the break. You should be happy if you get to the NCAA tournament for Clemson, because this is something that was an NCAA tournament or bust. Now, if you lose in the first round, it's very much a bittersweet type feeling. But if you get past the first round, or, let's say even make it to the second weekend, that's a successful season if you're the Clemson Tigers.
And right now, Joe Lunardi, his new bracket this morning has Clemson as a 3 seed playing Bucknell in Dallas. He had the College of Charleston as a 14 seed playing North Carolina in Nashville, and he had Winthrop as a 15 seed playing Duke in Charlotte.
I think for Clemson to be successful, though, they have to get into a mindset that even though, yes, the 3-point shooting has been nice for them, depending on hitting 9 a night is a little bit problematic. I think really, if I'm Brad Brownell, I'm really putting my stamp on really defense at this point in time. That's what he made his bread and butter on when he came to Clemson. I think he has to go back to that. They fall in love with the 3 a little bit too much when it doesn't.
Well, he kind
of
gave into that.
Yeah.
He kind of gave into their urges. I think because they played better defense too. They were kind of combining it. Now the Gamecocks, what they've got to strive for down the stretch is playing their way out of the first day of the SEC tournament. That is still possible. The Auburn win, of course, was huge. They have Georgia coming up, and Georgia is one of those teams with South Carolina down there towards the bottom that would be looking at playing the first day, as is LSU. Those are 2 of the games the Gamecocks have left, both at home. Then they've got road games, Mississippi State and Auburn. That will be tough. They've got to win these 2 home games to give themselves any kind of a chance to work their way up and get out of the bottom 4 so they can avoid that first day of play in the SEC tournament. So that is something to strive for if you're Frank Martin. But I'm sure after the game on Saturday and again today when he met with the media, and you were there for that as well, he had to feel much better about his team, the effort, back-to-back great efforts. They gave a great effort at Tennessee, came up short, and they doubled up on that effort Saturday.
It's very much the mold that they want to see going forward. But again, a lot of the talk today as well as Saturday was the effect that Sindarius Thornwell and P.J. Dozier, along with Notice and Mackey, who have been practicing them for a while, the effect that those guys had coming back and the amount of ownership they took for the program in order to get them going forward into a very hostile game that they won over Auburn over the weekend.
I never asked them to come back. They did that on their own. The guys in the locker room got to take that energy. Me and my staff, people say whatever they want to say. We're positive, and we bring that every day. That's where the growth in our locker room has to take place. That's those guys. They're the ones that got to take it. That's why when I tell you they be whatever page they want to be, they better be on my page. That's what I'm talking about. It's not me trying to be Mr. Dictator, tough guy. It had nothing to do with that. They better be on that page that those guys that don't play here anymore, that they brought, that's the page that we were on. That's my page. Those new guys, they can be on their page all they want. I can care less. They better be on that page. And but that's on them. They got to figure out what now. I'm a lot of things, but I can tell you what I'm not. I don't lie. And I bring it. You ask any players ever played for me, whether they like me or not. I bring it every day. I don't just bring it when I'm mad. I bring it every day. And we need guys to learn that.
This will be the second time you've played a team that you'd beaten. And I know that the approach probably wasn't what you wanted against Florida. How do you rectify that, and how do you impart that on the guys going into this game against Georgia?
Yeah, I don't think one has anything to do with the other. You know, we're different mindset, you know, this week than we were that week. But so's Georgia, you know. But I think they've won 2 in a row at Florida, and they just beat Tennessee. So they're feeling good about themselves. You know, obviously they know we won the last time we played, that they're not going to be real happy about that. I mean, it's every game's separate from the other games. What matters is your team's mindset going into that game. And our mindset, I mean, we didn't practice yesterday. I expected to be good today. You know, but if we come in here floundering and I got to start leading again, our mindset won't be good by Wednesday at 6:30. And that's kind of to piggyback on my answer to David earlier. That's, you know, how does that work? How do the guys handle, you know, because we were pretty good going into Tennessee, and we played hard enough to win at Tennessee, but didn't win. And then being able to come in here Thursday, Friday, and being a part of what we went through and winning, I'm hoping that there's a sense of confidence that guys are more willing to do more, so we can continue battling here. But it's going to be hard. I mean, just go back, hit rewind every time we play Georgia. I just said this at the SEC deal there. I can think of one game at Georgia, but outside of that one, where with a minute to go, the coaches are just sitting down and saying, okay, this game's over. I think every game's come down to that last minute, last possession of the game. Every game's an absolute rock fight. I don't think this one's going to be any different.
Yeah, a lot of great college basketball over the weekend, unfortunately overshadowed by a large degree with the news from Pete Thamel on Friday and from Yahoo Sports about the ongoing investigation by the FBI and the words coming from his report that there are a lot of Hall of Fame coaches and big-time programs, including many who were ranked by the NCAA selection committee as a top 16 seed, could be in some trouble, could be in some hot water. I want to believe that South Carolina and Clemson are clear and free on this deal, but you do have to remember they both have connections. USC has 2 connections to it. Lamont Evans was a USC coach. Whether or not anything happened of this nature while he was there before going to Oklahoma State, and they've got a player on their roster who was mixed up in this thing. And then Clemson, you got Merle Code living in Greenville, an Adidas rep, Clemson grad. Clemson's an Adidas school. And you try to –
No, they're a Nike school.
I'm sorry, I meant Nike school. Well, he's a Nike – was he an Adidas or a Nike rep?
I think he was a Nike
That's what I meant. He was a Nike rep, Nike school. My bad. So
Bowen was the Adidas guy.
Yeah. So my point is, I mean, you know, there's just enough smoke there, I think, to where you have to be a little bit concerned and just trust that the people in charge are clear and free in this situation, and nothing's going to come down on Clemson and USC when this thing shakes down.
Kay was asked about it, and he said, "I don't follow Yahoo." When
I saw that.
when you were called the Yahoo when I was growing up, it wasn't a nice thing.
Yeah, yeah.
He danced away from it.
Wasn't it a chocolate drink back then too?
That's Yoo-hoo.
That's Yoo-hoo.
No, Yoo-hoo.
That was the one Yogi Berra made a ton of money off of.
I love Yoo-hoo.
I didn't like Yoo-hoo. I just like plain Nestle chocolate milk.
Come on now.
All right, top of the hour break. We'll be back.